Call halal Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom and salutations to brothers out here pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the elect listening. Shalom. I made a statement in my last video that I need to correct. This was the statement. I'm going to play it. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. This is talking about reincarnation. People out there still beating their head about reincarnation. I said that Daniel's 12:2 is talking about reincarnation. It's not talking about reincarnation. That was a slip of the tongue. It's talking about resurrection. This is Daniel's 12:2. I'm going to read it again. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life. Those that sleep in the dust and are going to awake in the same bodies. They're not going to be reincarnated. What is reincarnated versus resurrection? The definition of reincarnation is rebirth of a soul in a new body. Emphasis on new body. The definition of resurrection, the action or act or fact of resurrecting or being resurrected. Then you go down, drop down, says Yahushua is rising from the dead, resurrection. It says the rising of the dead at the last judgment. So resurrection is being brought back, rose out of the ground in the same body. One's being brought into a new body after death. One's being brought into the same body after death. Resurrection, same body. Reincarnation, new body. That's the difference. So as you go back to Daniel's 12:2, this means this is a resurrection scripture, being brought back into the same body out of the graves. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So there will be dead bodies. There will be dead bodies walking around in these end times, being risen out of the graves. Now that sounds crazy to few who don't know the scriptures, or many who don't know the Bible. Here's the Bible. Let's find out how many reincarnation and resurrection scriptures actually exist, because a lot of people, they say that resurrection and reincarnation. Well, let me just continue. This is Matthew 27:52. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. This is when Yahushua was crucified. At that very time, the graves was open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. Meaning resurrection. Back in the same body. And came out of the graves after his resurrection. So the Lord is like, not only after he was on a crucified, but he died and then he rose again in his resurrection. And likewise, many saints rose again, and they were resurrected into their bodies, and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. So people saw not only Yahushua for 40 days resurrected, but many of the saints resurrected. It's very interesting. Now, as you go, I started, just staying on the topic of resurrection, and it's a vast topic, brother. It's many. You'll find thousands of scriptures out here, hundreds, I'll say, about resurrection or reincarnation. This is Wikipedia. Universal resurrection. General resurrection or universal resurrection is the belief that a resurrection of the dead or resurrection from the dead, by which most of or all people who have died would be resurrected, brought back to life. Various forms of this concept can be found in Baha'i, Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Zoroastrian eschatology. Let's go down to rabbinic and Samaritan Judaism. It says, there are 3 explicit examples in the Hebrew Bible of people being resurrected from the dead. 1 Kings 17:17 is the first one. Let's read that. 1 Kings 17:17. And it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. And she said unto Elijah, What have I to do with thee, O thou man of God? Art thou come unto me to call my sin to remembrance, and to slay my son? And he said unto her, Give me thy son. And he took him out of her bosom, and carried him up into a loft, where he abode, and laid him upon his bed. And he cried unto the Lord, and said, O Lord my power, hast thou also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn by slaying her son? And he stretched up himself upon the child 3 times, and cried unto the Lord, and said, O Lord my power, I pray thee, let this child's soul come into him again. And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. He was reincarnated. And Elijah, Salaki, he was resurrected. That's how easy it is to slip that up. And Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the chamber into the house, and delivered him unto his mother. And Elijah said, See, thy son liveth. And the woman said to Elijah, Now by this I know that thou art a man of God, and that the word of the Lord in thy mouth is truth. 2 Kings 4:32. Examples of resurrection. And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore and shut the door upon them twain, and prayed unto the Lord. And when he went up and lay upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands, and stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned and walked in the house, and to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him, and the child sneezed 7 times. Spiritual. The child opened his eyes, and he called Gehazi, and said, Call this Shunammite. So he called her, and when she was come in unto him, he said, Take up thy son. Then she went in and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and took up her son and went out. Resurrection. Back into the same body. Revived into the same body. 2 Kings 13:21. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that, behold, they spied a band of men. And they cast the man into the sepulchre of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up on his feet. Resurrection. All right. Now, reincarnation is everywhere in the scriptures, meaning you're revived into a new body and a new soul after death. Check this out. 1 Corinthians 15:19. It says, if in this life only. Now you got to understand what I just read here. If in this life only we have hope in Yahushua, we are of all men most miserable. Because we have to have hope in Yahushua every life. That's a quick one. Going back to this, it says, while there was no belief in personal afterlife or reward or punishment in Judaism before 200 BC, and later Judaism and Samaritism, it is believed that the God of Israel will one day give life to the dead, to the righteous during the Messianic age, and they will live forever in the world to come. Jews today base this belief off of the book of Isaiah, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Daniel. All right. During the Second Temple period, Judaism developed a diversity. Let me see if I got that in Isaiah. Not yet. Because he mentioned Isaiah. I read it earlier. This is what it says in... Okay, I don't have it off the rip. Let's continue. During the Second Temple period, Judaism developed a diversity of beliefs concerning the resurrection. The concept of resurrection of the physical body is found in 2 Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. according to which it will happen through reincarnation of the flesh. If you want to read what they're referring to, go to 2 Maccabees 7, verse 11, verse 28. Resurrection of the dead also appears in detail in the extra canonical books, which we don't read. Don't worry about that. Both Josephus and the New Testament record that the Sadducees did not believe in an afterlife. We know that. That's in Matthew 22 and 23. But the sources vary on the beliefs of the Pharisees. So let's stop here and let's get back into some more scripts. All right. Resurrection. So that was Daniel's 12. Now let's read about a spiritual reincarnation or spiritual resurrection. Because there's physical and spiritual. Remember when John, I'll read that later, about Nicodemus. Romans 13 and 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. Because sleep means death in the scriptures. We knew death was impermanent, so we called it sleep. Even to this day, in the Bible, it's translated sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. How do you wake up out of death? Spiritually. By coming back to life spiritually, which is through this word. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and edifying. Yeah, you're completely in control of your senses, so you're not drunk, wilding out. You're not doing as the Romans do. This is 1 Thessalonians 4 and 16. It says, for the Lord, I'm going to start at 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep. Remember, sleep means death in the Bible. That ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. Some see somebody dies and they get sad and they lose hope. For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, resurrection, even so them also which sleep in Yahushua will Yahweh bring with him. Resurrection. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, the second coming, with the voice of the archangels, chariots with him, and with the trump of Yahweh, and the dead in Yahushua shall rise first. Reincarnation. It's like a resurrection. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, chariots, so-called UFOs, to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. Boom. How many camps teach about the chariots, man? Like Great Millstone. I wonder. Matthew 16 and 27. Because you know it make you look crazy. Right? If you ain't willing to look crazy for the Lord, if you're offended at the Lord's words, then this ain't for you. This is Matthew 16 and 27. For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he reward every man according to his works. How will he do every man lest they be alive? What about the men who died? They'll be resurrected. All right. Got a few more. And Hebrews 9 and 27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. How is after? Unless reincarnation exists. Now this is reincarnation back into a new body. Unless you've been resurrected, you're just going to be reincarnated. Let me say that again. Unless you've been resurrected, you're just going to be reincarnated. And guess what? You can be reincarnated and then still resurrected. It's all about your soul being put wherever the Lord sends it. New body, same body. Job, Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto Yahweh who gave it. Reincarnation. Parable of Lazarus and the rich man. Reincarnation scriptures. John, the 3rd chapter, tells you that Nicodemus didn't understand spiritual resurrection from the dead. So he thought Yahushua was speaking of physical resurrection, reincarnation. He thought Yahushua was speaking of physical reincarnation, being born through your mother's womb again. He was very messed up. That's John, the 3rd chapter. Matthew 25:46. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. You gotta have there gotta be a life after this in order for that to happen. Luke 23:43. And Yahushua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee. He's talking to the malefactor on his right hand side that was up on the cross being crucified next to him, who stood up for him as the one on the left-hand side spoke against him. The Lord said to him, and Yahushua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Meaning, we're going to be reincarnated into paradise, into heaven, spiritual world. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Resurrection. Before he put you in a new body. Before he reincarnated you, Salakia. Before he reincarnated you as a newborn baby on earth, he knew you because you once was. 2 Corinthians 5:1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of Yahweh, a house made not with hands, eternal in the heavens. Celestial, bodies terrestrial and bodies celestial. We're in the terrestrial. If this dissolves and we die, we'll be that very hour in the celestial. That's it. Reincarnation. Matthew 17:12. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not. The backstory is that it was prophesied that Elijah, also known as Elias, will come again. He died already. He's one of the ancient prophets in the Old Testament, and he died. Or Salakia, forgive me, please. Elijah did not die. Elijah was translated into the heavens by a chariot. He was beamed up next to many people, many witnesses, including Elisha. He was beamed up into heaven. Salakia, slip of the tongue. So Elijah, this man who never died on earth, was translated into the heavens, and it was prophecy that he would return. I believe the prophecy is in Joel. I believe it's in Joel. That he would return, bring the fathers to the sons. And Yahushua speaking of this, it says, but I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. He's speaking of how the treatment of Elijah was when he came the second time, because they didn't know he was Elijah. That was John the Baptist. And they spoke out against John the Baptist up until his death and after that. Luke 20 and 35 says, "But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage, neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto angels and are children of Yahweh, being the children of the resurrection." Romans 6 and 23, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Yahweh is eternal life through Yahweh Shah our Lord." Lord willing, this video was edifying. Hope you got the understanding on resurrection and reincarnation. Daniel's 12, once again, 12 and 2. And speaking of resurrection, being brought back into the same body. Shalom.